I mean, now that Cubsy has his Mistweaver going, it seemed like the Mistweaver is what they were lacking in the Method tournaments, but now Cubsy has it, and it's very important that you have a Mistweaver right now in the current meta. And if it's a Cubsy, like Cubsy level healer on Druid, and he gets the same level on Mistweaver, yeah, good luck, have fun. It's going to be really hard to beat Cloud9, I think.
All right, we are getting ready for that blind pick matchup. Starting to see those compositions now. We are going to have a Warlock and a Mage on the side of Cloud9. And for Spacestation, it is going to be the Lock and the Monk. Let's jump down and see who's going to be able to take the first game of this series.
I got it right. All right, I'm out of here.
Well, it is going to be, the matchup we kind of expected here. Cloud9, they're going to be playing the Mage, Warlock, Mistweaver. It doesn't seem like any team has been able to force them off this composition so far. This is their bread and butter. Mage Warlock has always been kind of the composition that Cloud9 has gone to, but now Cubsy primarily playing the Mistweaver Monk instead of the Restoration Druid. And then, of course, you have Spacestation Gaming playing the Mistweaver, Windwalker, Destruction Warlock. So we'll have to see who comes out ahead, Chun-Li or Wealthy Man in this matchup. For their respective classes, immediately crowd control on Gorecki. Who are they going after right now? Infernal's being dropped down for both sides. Who is going to be taking more damage? It looks like Spite Trinkets are going to be lobbed out by the team of Spacestation Gaming, getting aggressive on Chanimal very early on, and I really don't mind using those Spite Trinkets. I think in the late game, it could definitely pay off for them if they can keep Chanimal pinned down in one.
All right. Let's see if they can utilize that Gladiator Spite effectively to find victory against Cloud9. Dark Soul is rolling for Thugonomics. He wants to find some Chaos Bolts, but he's not getting any. Now interrupted on his Fear. Greater Pyroblast in the sky. Interrupted on his Bolt. A lot of trouble on Thugonomics. Gorecki backs him up with the Life Cocoon. Thugonomics boldly moving out into center field, facing a Wealthy Man Fire Mage with Combustion. I mean, this is insane damage from that Lucid Dreams of Wealthy Man. They do manage to walk it off. Gorecki heals him back up. Mistweaver, a very powerful healer, able to deal with that threat from Wealthy Man.
So I really like what Wealthy Man is doing here. He's playing Lucid Dreams, and I think he's playing the Hyper Thread wrist wraps as well. So every 2 minutes he's gonna have a massive combustion. Now he's not playing the Firestarter, but honestly, I don't mind this. You don't go Vision, you don't go Firestarter, and then you just go for the big 2 minute combust, and then you still play, Temporal Shield and Greater Pyroblast and just Klepto, and you just have that baseline kind of defense. So every 2 minutes, Wealthy Man is gonna be, just shooting out instant pyroblast and doing tons of burst damage, and then in between those 2 minutes, he's just gonna look to get polymorphs and greater pyroblasts off.
Yep, and I mean, just looking at Chun-Li's build as well, without him playing the Tiger Eye Brew, I think it's likely we're going to see most damage going on to Wealthy Man in this game. Cubsy moving forward, potentially looking for crowd control and Gorecki, but a preemptive Life Cocoon will shut down that go. Now getting Life Cocoon out of the way, Cubsy still has his crowd control available, potentially wanting to push in and get that CC on a Gorecki to continue the damage, but it looks like Wealthy Man in the midfield does get interrupted on the Greater Power Blast, and that's what it's going to be all about. Stopping Wealthy Man, controlling Wealthy Man, but Chanimal really setting up his team, getting that damage rolling onto Thugonomics early on. And I mean, at this point, Infernal's dropped down once again. Thugonomics taking a huge hit of damage from Wealthy Man, who is looking for another Greater Power Blast, but here it is. The Spites, the Corrupted Gladiator Spite, Chun-Li into a Polymorph, gets the Ring of Peace back on Chanimal. He's getting over-corrupted right now. Chanimal could be in some trouble. He's basically forced with those Ring of Pieces in those Spite Trinkets. Big Drestagath hit. Chanimal could be in a lot of trouble here, Sid.
I like that Chun-Li saved the Drestagath until the Cascading Disaster stacked up on that Corruption. A lot of players will pop their damage immediately on the Spite, but you actually want to wait as long as possible until the end of it to maximize the damage increase. Now, Cloud9 are all running versatility on every single thing, just maxed out versatility. But Thugonomics is running Expedient. He's running Haste, and he's running Gushing Wounds. So he's trying to take a gamble there to get some extra damage out, and we have to see if that gamble will pay off for him. He's already down in Unending Resolve. Now Chun-Li is down a Touch of Karma. Gorecki needs to worry about 2 players on his team facing down an incoming Dark Soul of Chanimal and Combustion of Wealthy Man. This could be this next couple seconds could be scary. Wealthy Man pops that Combustion, strips half of Thugonomics' health away instantly. But then Gorecki follows up with the Life Cocoon. But again, Chun-Li's a good swap target. Wealthy Man instantly swaps. But Diffuse Magic there is going to deny the kill onto Chun-Li. Good defensive cooldown management from Spacestation Gaming to deal with that Lucid Dreams combustion.
So I really really believe this as well. I've been testing it a little bit, but the expedient build where you just go, you just go racing poles and you don't actually go for anything else. I think in Mage Warlock that is going to be the ultimate build to run, because the amount of haste that you can build up with that is just crazy. And I just want to see somebody not stack Versa and try it, because I think it could be very big in these matchups. And also, I think Chanimal uses Rathian Cloak, or I'm sure Chanimal uses Rathian Cloak in that last setup, but we see a big go here onto Thug, paralyzed onto Gorecki, a lot of damage there, but Thug is going to position himself behind the pillar. Cubsy doesn't want to go in there with Gorecki, having that leg sweep available, could get swapped to, so good call there to just do the attack and then pull back there from Cubsy. Always with that good decision making. But yeah, Chanimal is not going to have his Rathian Cloak for this spite attempt right here, Ven.
Yeah, and it could be big damage on Channel. He gets caught into the leg sweep. He's trying to trinket out. Ring of Peace knocks him back in. Double Mortal Coil coming in. Chun-Li could be in some trouble, though. Doesn't want to, fall down in this moment. Does have the Touch of Karma to push forward. He will activate it on that Greater Power Blast. Really trying to push Chanimal over. Not sure how much Corruption Chanimal is using, but it doesn't seem like the Spite Trinkets have really done too much at this point of the game. Wealthy Man now looking for a Polymorph. Finds one. Thugonomics could be in some trouble, but unfortunately, there was an Infernal down, so that just immediately broke that Polymorph. Wealthy Man really not going to be getting too much value there. The crowd control breaks, and it looks like Spacestation Gaming will be able to hold on.
To stabilize, we're stepping foot into dampening. Dark Soul is popped here for Chanimal. Tries to find a Chaos Bolt. Chun-Li ports away from it, and then Thugonomics spell locks it. Good denial of the Dark Soul by Spacestation Gaming. Wealthy Man crowd controlled as well. Really just preventing any pressure. Combustion available though for Wealthy Man. He likely has that Lucid Dreams as well. He could pump out a huge amount of instantaneous burst momentarily. Thugonomics intercepts with a double Mortal Coil into a leg sweep into the 3 Gladiator Spike grenades. Gorecki rolls up for a stun out of the stun. Now Thugonomics needs to get damage as soon as possible, but Chanimal had his Demonic Gateway ready. He positioned next to it, and he makes a quick getaway and avoids a near life death experience. Possibly his unending resolve in that situation, so good positioning on Chan. Chun gets intercepted by Cubsy, but immediately life cocoon from Gorecki, so it's going to soak up a Greater Pyroblast, not take too much damage. Chan looking to set up a Mortal Coil, unfortunately only hitting one target. I think he was trying to interrupt the fear on himself, but it didn't land in time. Greater Pyroblast coming out from Wealthy Man onto Thugonomics. I mean, Wealthy Man has just been cannoning Greater Pyroblast. Pretty much every single cast I see from him has been a Greater Pyro. Chun rolls back to stop the drink of Cubsy, then goes immediately back onto the Mage, but has to trade Touch of Karma. And it's going to be very difficult to stop Cubsy from drinking while not dying at the same time. I mean, if I'm Cubsy right now, I'd probably just try and sit and drink again. It looks like he is thinking about it. He's going to pick Chanimal up. Thugonomics, Gorecki, and Chun are very far away from Cubsy, so he can just move over here, sit down for a drink, and Chun's in a fear. What's he going to do? Is he going to run into a Greater Pyroblast to stop the drink? I mean, he can't even physically get to Cubsy to stop it. Cubsy gets full mana off that reset, and Cloud9 play for their late game advantage, as always.
Yeah, it's just beautiful stuff here from Cloud9. Greater Pyro, another one. Ooh, gets spell locked right at the end there. Life Cocoon coming out from Gorecki as he crosses the map. Now he's looking to get aggressive here. Gorecki has his stun available. He gets paralyzed right now by Cubsy. A lot of damage coming out here. There's a swap onto Chanimal with the Spites. Chanimal going to use his trinket to get out of there, activating his Infernals, trying to get some counter pressure going. Might just use the gateway right there, and he will. He reflects a Chaos Bolt back there as well. So Chanimal with excellent defense, he's gonna escape through that situation, and as soon as Gorecki crosses the map, Cloud9 swaps to the other side of the map. They never really want to be on top of them. They always want Chun-Li to have to cross a big open field before he can start doing damage. That way, Wealthy Man can start casting out Greater Pyros, maybe get rid of the spell lock, get rid of some of those things that are gonna stop him, and then by the time Chun-Li actually reaches his target, he can actually start getting out those Greater Pyroblasts right away. So Cloud9 just always playing this positioning game perfectly, stopping the enemy healer from drinking, staying back, repositioning, and then going for drinks as well. In scenarios like this, where Cubsy doesn't actually need to heal anybody, if his mana ever would be kind of low, this is where he would go for drinks.
Yeah, and I mean, Wealthy Man with that massive combustion is going to be able to really punish Thugonomics here. If he pushes out into the midfield, if he gets interrupted on a Fear or a Chaos Bolt, we can just see the combustion be forced out. Big setup here on Chanimal, though. He's caught into the Corruption. and it looks like a thing from beyond will be spawning as he uses the Wrathion Cloak. Looking for a Reflect, unfortunately misses it. One Reflect is used, and Thugonomics eats one of his own Chaos Bolts, but still big damage here on Channel. They just shred through the Life Cocoon. Cubsy's going to have to play catch-up, and finally, the spikes looking like they're really adding up here for Space Station Gaming, but Wealthy Man finds one Greater Power Blast, potentially looking for two. Thugonomics could be in some trouble. At the same time, Channel is getting low. Wealthy Man with his Fire Mage damage has forced Thugonomics to the pillar to retreat, and still just spamming out those Greater Power Blasts on Chun-Li. He's already used the Touch of Karma. He has the Diffuse Magic, but with this massive combustion from Wealthy Man, all of a sudden Cloud9 has a ton of pressure.
Channel has to banish a thing from beyond. I mean, even outside the spite window, he's spawning some negative corruption effects, and this is going to be the main win condition for Space Station Gaming, is to just overload Channel's corruption levels and then run him down. If it doesn't work out, though, I'm very scared for Space Station Gaming. Chun ports, but the Greater Pyro is already in the sky. He's down to 10%. Grecky needs to pick him up. Cross pillar with Spell Lock and Counterspell available. It could be scary for him. He manages to make it through, not being interrupted. Cubsy says, all right, you guys are scared. You're just running away. I'm going to drink to full mana, reset, make sure that I can power heal through the deep dampening stages of this game. Good patience there on Cubsy's part. Good awareness to just reset the fight in that regard. Garecki's mana in a much less healthy position. His entire team being destroyed at the moment. He's triple Shadow Fury. Cubsy rolls up for a triple leg sweep. Beautiful follow-up there between Chanimal and Cubsy. And they are outright going to stop game one. Space Station Gaming still need an answer for Cloud9's Mage Lock Mistweaver. I'm not sold on this being it.
Yeah, Zico, let's actually talk about what those potential answers could be, if any. What are you thinking would potentially help Space Station Gaming figure things out?
It's gotta be, I mean, the best answer that I have seen that I really think is like, okay, this seems like a solid answer if you play out the matchup. It's Warrior Fire Mage, but they don't have, you know, anybody who can play that Fire Mage on their roster, so that's the problem, right? I think the other thing that they maybe could have some success with would be something like a Warrior Demon Hunter. I feel like Thug on the Warlock, it's just too hard for him to actually get that, you know, pressure out when he's playing against two wizards and he doesn't have a second wizard on his team. He has a Windwalker that, you know, goes out, gets CC'd, gets caught, and he has to kind of play around when his Windwalker can go out there. And that just allows, you know, Chanimal and Wealthy Man to just do whatever they want. But if you had maybe a Warrior and a Demon Hunter, they could at least go in and out together and potentially force, you know, a kill on Chanimal.
Are there any maps that will help them even with the composition that they do have right now, or do you look at this as purely just an uphill battle, Zico?
I feel like the smaller maps are always going to be, you know, it's going to be nice for them always to play on those smaller maps. But with that said, I've just seen Cloud9 dismantle way too many teams with Mage Warlock on smaller maps. I feel like Cloud9 just usually end up killing the healer like really fast on small maps. So, I mean, obviously it's going to help, but I don't know how much because Cloud9 are just that good.
Yeah, very, very important to be keeping that in our minds because Cloud9 is looking like they are cut above just so many of the squads. It is tough to try to find an answer to what they are throwing down. We already started to talk about what we do expect to see in the next matchup, but Sid, it really just is on Space Station Gaming to find an answer.
I mean, they can do small maps. I think they could find success on Hook Point. It's just on Nagrand, it's really hard to stop Cubsy from drinking. On Tolvaron, it's impossible. On Ashamains, it's impossible. So now that they've lost the blind pick, should they bring this to Hook Point? Should they bring it to to Tiger? No, not Tiger Speak. Wow, Blackrock Cold Arena or Dalaran, like these smaller maps, and maybe they can stop the drinks. They might be able to win if they do that. But they're always going to be on the back foot in the series now because they didn't win the Grand. They're going to go to those big maps where they can't stop drinks. And what are they going to do on the big maps? The one comp they haven't played, although they've tried it before, and I mean, it could just not work at all, is Elemental Shaman. Smexon is Elemental Shaman.
Yeah.
So they could either Wizard Mirror on the big maps if they want to try and give that a go. Or they could try Elemental Windwalker with the Spite. Maybe that would be a little bit more burst damage because Thugonomics just gets interrupted. He can't find a Chaos Bolt when Chanimal gets overloaded, whereas the Elemental Shaman is just going to be like slap Earthshock, buffed damage on a corrupted target. So those are some options I think that they should consider.
I do want to bring up very quickly just the fact that, you know, Supatiz kind of brings up the bright side to bring up the true darkness of the situation. Like Zico mentions that on smaller maps he doesn't have that much hope, but Sid kind of brings up the idea that even on a smaller map, even if you are able to take it, when you just look at how the pace of this matchup is going to go with that first map advantage, that simply will not be enough, even if you can take those smaller maps. But then, Supatis, you laid out some pretty interesting potential options that they could have to answer what Cloud9 is bringing. Then, it sounds like you had some interest in maybe the Shaman in particular.
I think it could be interesting. I mean, the nice thing about the Elemental Shaman is you have a great amount of disruption, right? Like, you have a low cooldown Wind Shear, you have Grounding Totem, you have Purge for Wealthy Man's Combustion. And I mean, all these tools together could definitely help out. It would definitely make Goreki's life a little bit easier. The problem is, do you just miss out on damage? I mean, we kind of saw in the last matchup what happens when a Mistweaver Monk stacks everything towards a Dispel. And I mean, if you're just spamming Dispel against Immolate and Flame Shock, maybe the Elemental Shaman Warlock would just have no pressure. It's one of those things that it's kind of sounds good on paper, but when it actually plays out, maybe it's not the most practical, but this definitely feels like a losing matchup. Just watching this game play out, the way Cloud9's playing, Spacestation Gaming, I mean, you're seeing Thugonomics have to take risks in his gear, going for extra haste, going for gushing wounds, because they know that they have to put out more damage in order to actually win this matchup, but it just doesn't seem like they can find that damage.
Yeah, and something to think about as well is you know that there's a potential, even if you do lose this matchup at Space Station Gaming, that you're going to be in this scenario again, right? Not only even in this tournament, but throughout the entirety of the AWC. So trying new things definitely does seem good. And now we actually are going to see Gore moving over to the Shaman, Chun going to be staying on the Monk, and Smexon's going to be coming in on the Warrior. Zico, how do you feel about this composition on Hook Point?
I like it. Yeah, this is, I wanted to see a warrior specifically because warriors are just, pretty good into Destro Warlocks. You can, you have enough kind of tankiness just passively to stay in there for a while. And if you get into a dicey situation, you have a lot of disruption. You got your Spell Reflect, you can Blade Storm out of there, you can Heroic Leap out of there, you can use your Intim Shout, your stuns. I feel like a warrior in general, combined with the fact that you have Mortal Strike and actual kill pressure later on in dampening, that has to be the answer, But then what the second DPS is, that's their call for sure. But I do like seeing a warrior and also just combined with a healer that can purge. I think is nice here.
Okay, so now we are going to get to see this different composition coming in on Hook Point. We'll have to see if it is enough to tie up this series. But how do you actually feel about these two teams going head to head and trying to figure out an answer as early as possible as far as like practice is concerned when you're inside of a matchup like this, right? I know that sometimes it sounds counterintuitive to look at a matchup that's obviously very high stakes. You're trying to get deep into that winner side of the bracket. But how important is it, Zico, to kind of view it as a laboratory where you can test different compositions for the future tournament series?
I feel like it all comes down to a little bit how comfortable you are in general. I feel like right now, because it's still the second AWC Cup, and also because Space Station Gaming, I mean, I can guess that they weren't happy with their performance last week. Their performance was good, in our book. But, if you look at them and what they were able to do last year, their constant top 2 finishes, I think they were the second highest point earner too. Obviously, by their standards, they want to make it to the finals, right? So I think at this point, at least with this game, you still give it your best. But then the next game, that's when, maybe you just you lock in the big map yourself and you do what Sid and Ben were talking about, where you maybe run an LA Shaman Destro and you try that. Because it is important in the long run that they find something for Cloud9.
Yeah, it seems like in a series like this, it's just important to get weird, right? Because if you don't do it at some point, you're just going to keep on making the same mistakes, keep on having the same difficulties. But right now, we finally are going to get to see the Warrior. Will it be enough to dismantle Cloud9 and tie up the series, or will Cloud9 find themselves on match point?
Here we go.
Definitely. Go ahead.
I was say, here we go. Smexon charging in right away onto Wealthy Man on that Fire Mage. I'm curious to see how Goreki's going to navigate this game with the Restoration Shaman. Already caught into a Seduce. Chun-Li has been isolated. Cubsy wants to roll in for a leg sweep pretty soon. Is he going to be able to get in range? Rolls up to Goreki. Grecki pre-walls the Greater Pyroblast, but now he's feared. His Healing Tide down. It's picking up the team. He anticipated the attack on himself quite effectively. Cubsy feared off. Big Drestagath pounce onto Ultimate. Double Drestagath, but the second one hits into the Life Cocoon. Going to be totally negated. Now that those Drestagaths are on cooldown, I would like to see Cloud9 get aggressive.
Yeah, nice double stun coming in from Cubsy. Let's see what Cloud9 can really get done. When that combustion is rolling for Wealthy Man, that's the scariest moment of the game for Space Station Gaming. The one nice thing is Gorecki has a lot to deal with it, and there's big burst damage right now onto Wealthy Man. Gorecki has to use his Gladiator's Medallion. Chun-Li basically forced to use everything. And that wasn't even the combustion. I mean, that was the Dark Soul from Channel, but no combustion has been traded out. Without Gorecki's Purge, I think it's going to be really scary. I mean, if they can get a nice setup on Gorecki here, a leg sweep into an Infernal Stun, a Mortal Coil a little bit later on, I think Gorecki could definitely be in a lot of trouble. And so far, I mean, Space Station Gaming, they're trying to come up with something. If it'll work, I mean, definitely remains to be seen. But I'm glad that they're not willing, or that I'm glad that they are willing to risk it a little bit, because they need to come up with something kind of off the wall. I mean, no one has been able to beat Cloud9 with this composition. Here's a nice little setup, though. Coming in, Chanimal, finding the Seduce, fearing up Chun-Li, Polymorph on Smexon, and that's the thing. I mean, anytime you see Cloud9 is in trouble, they're able to just basically freeze the game.
Here we go. Massive swap here onto Gorecki. That's going to be lights out for him. I was trying to say that this is going... Well, you called it out as well, but... they were just waiting for Cubsy's leg sweep there. As soon as Cubsy got his leg sweep back, paralyzed, leg sweep, they actually tried to seduce Gorecki into a sheep there in the end to set that up. But Smexon stunned the pet, so it canceled the seduce, but then Cubsy instead just went in and caught Gorecki there with that paralyze. So, this is what we were talking about. I feel like on smaller maps, C9 just win faster.
Yeah. I mean,
maybe they should just lock the smaller map when
you called that in right away. You were like Zico actually before we even jumped into that one, and that was when Sid really started the conversation about the smaller maps. And even if they could get the victory on the smaller maps, the script already looked like a script that had demise written all over it. But Zico was saying on the smaller maps, it just looks like they're able to do crazy things with this composition and end quickly. Then. Well,
yeah, it's just really difficult. I mean, just looking at the build Gorecki was playing in that matchup, he wasn't playing any versatility amps. He was actually stacking Ineffable Truth. So maybe he was just looking for a really low cooldown Grounding Totem and Wind Shear, which, I mean, kind of makes sense. On paper, you're playing against people that are casting a lot of spells, having maximum amount of interrupts and ways to deal with that. Definitely seems like it could be good, but unfortunately, you can't Wind Shear, you can't Grounding Totem when you're caught into a leg sweep and getting destroyed. So I mean, maybe this composition could work if Gorecki potentially had a little bit more versatility, a little bit more defense during those stuns, but it's such a scary moment. It just seems like the way Cloud9's playing, it seems so difficult to beat them. I mean, no one has an answer at this point.
You actually were like talking about he needs to wear a little bit of versatility, so I wanted to double check his gear. He's playing Ineffable Truth, Resto Shaman. Was he thinking, like, I'm going to get a Grounding Totem, like, all the time, and I'm going to get a Wind Shear all the time?
Wait, I said that.
I
literally said that word for word.
Sid was up in space with Space Station Gaming on that last one. Pretty sure the shuttle launch isn't for another 2 hours, my friend.
I just got that.
So Sid and Venruki reached the same conclusion in different planets, and we got to see them converge here. But the thing is ultimately, I was kind of saying I would really want to see this team experiment, and even when you do see an experiment like that explode in your face, sometimes you can't just think results oriented. Yeah, is it kind of weird to go for this Ineffable Truth Shaman? Yeah, do you get decimated inside of the game? I think trying things like this is crucial right now, then, when you're in a matchup like this, because if they don't do it, and if they don't fail a little bit when they have that freedom to lose and drop down to the lower side of the bracket, like they have that extra lifeline right now, if they don't use that to their advantage, I feel like they're wasting a resource.
It's just it's difficult because I mean we've seen them play the Windwalker, Destro, Mistweaver, their blind block in this matchup before, and it has not been going in their favor at all. So I mean it's nice that they're trying these different compositions, but it doesn't look like it's really that prepared at this point because I mean losing that, basically locking in the blind pick, saying I guess we'll see how this works, this time again. I mean they tried it with the Spites, unfortunately it didn't really work out, but it just seems like they're repeating the same thing over and over. I mean, you can't really blame them. That is their comfort pick. Maybe they don't have a composition that can actually beat Mage Lock, but yeah, it definitely seems rough. Hopefully they have another answer. I mean, I wouldn't even mind seeing that again. I mean, would I actually? I don't know. I mean, Shamans are very susceptible to getting blown up, but I don't know. In theory, it looked kind of nice. What map are we going to? Ruins of Lordaeron. Cloud9 locks in the Mage Lock again. No surprise. I literally think this is the only composition they're going to play until someone beats them. And then for Space Station Gaming, they got to really think hard.
I want to see the Shaman again.
I want to see the LA Shaman.
Okay.
I don't want to see a Resto Shaman ever again. I do want to see that LA Shaman.
Okay, fair.
Goreki is my man. I got mad love for Goreki.
What about like
I don't
something?
want to see a Shaman, period.
What about something like completely off the wall, like Elemental Shaman, Resto Shaman, Destro? Like I kind of want to see something like that.
Now I want to see, like, this is like, the thing is, I am a full converted believer in the Mistweaver Monk. I feel like the best comp in the game is gonna have a Mistweaver healing it, and the only comp that's gonna be on that same level and that doesn't have a Mistweaver is gonna have a Paladin healing. I really feel like those two are the two best healers in the game. Paladin comps can beat Mistweaver teams, and Mistweaver teams can just beat everybody else, including Paladin team as well. So I want to see LA Shaman, but then, maybe a Mistweaver.
You're going to see Resto Shaman.
Yeah,
again.
we're going to see Resto Shaman. Thug going to be on the Destro Warlock, and then Smexen is going to be on that Warrior. So Zico, I know that you didn't want to see it, but now that you do see this composition, how much do you not want to see it?
Well, this is what I said. I kind of wanted to see. I said Warrior, Warlock. I feel like Warrior plus X is like the best answer. I don't know how much I'm going to see with the Resto Shaman, though, because the Shaman just adds a lot of utility, a lot of interrupt. The problem with the Shaman is, he's going to have to cast at some point.
Now, do you want to see the Ineffable Truths build again, or would you much rather see a Shaman stacking versatility coming into this one, Venruki?
Well, the nice thing about having Smexen in the match is you do get a little bit more comfort with War Banner, with Rallying Cry. The Commanding Shout does give you a little bit more, flexibility in surviving those big all-ins. But I think he's definitely. I mean, I don't mind Ineffable Truth, but maybe like mix it up a little bit. Play a little versatility, a little Ineffable Truth, to really throw off, Chanimal and Wealthy Man being used to the timers of Grounding Totem and Wind Shear. Don't mind that. What I was gonna say is, in the past, this has actually always been a pretty good answer into Mage Warlock. A Warlock Shaman plus a melee traditionally has done very well into Mage Warlock. Right now, maybe not the case, but I like the fact that they're trying it. I mean, Specs and Thugonomics should be very durable, and Goreki with the extra interrupts. They actually have a little bit of a way to deal with the combustion, which I think is super duper important. I mean, right now, Fire Mages, they get to have so much fun without their combustion being purged in the match, and just having Goreki in the game to, grounding the combust and purge the combust, I think is going to make a world of difference if he's not getting one shot.
Well, with that, Sid, this series can end on Ruins of Lordaeron.
It would be a fitting final resting place, as it is a cemetery. Let's see if Space Station Gaming can deny their own funeral. Goreki already polymorphed. Smexen, grapple weapon. He goes for a double fear onto the DPS. They want to go Goreki, I think. Infernal stun into double leg sweep. Maybe a setup on the Warrior. It's a little bit uncertain. They are going after Goreki again on match point. Mortal coiled out on the follow-up. He's retreating around the corner, desperately trying to survive on the tombstone. And like Zico said, Restoration Shaman going to have to cast heals. He has to do a spell lock and counterspell. See if we can navigate through here. Counterspell was used, so it's now only the spell lock. Thugonomics lobbing out some Dark Soul Chaos Bolts. He's going after Cubsy. Cubsy ducks over to the far side of the left-hand part of the map with his brew, and he looks like he's going to be all right. Greater Pyro got nether warded. Back onto Wealthy Man with a Chaos Bolt. He temp shields the reflected damage. Heals himself back up to full. Nice plays between the two teams. Chanimal is just standing on top of Space Station Gaming's tombstone right now. Chanimal taking full control.
Ooh, let's see. They're going after Thug still here. Do they have any more follow-up CC? They get a coil into a DR Fear. Wealthy Man looking for the poly. Can he find it? No, he's going for the Greater Pyrobuzz. Gets Mortal Coiled. Thug trying to shut down this situation. He is spell-locked. Chaos Bolt comes lobbed out. Actually, Wealthy Man could take a little bit of heat here. Thug gets grounded on that greater Pyroblast right there. Smexen still on his target, gets feared now, can't access his pommel that he has available right there. And this is one thing that, a lot of teams have been getting a lot better at when they play with that greater Pyroblast Fire Mage, is, when you're casting that greater Pyroblast, you're going to see Chanimal use his root with Conflagrate on a target to keep them in line of sight for Wealthy Man. You're going to see him drop a fear like that when when it's just one person who can interrupt still. And that's one thing I've been seeing a lot that Cloud9 just is so good at, super good at coordinating their CC and also making sure that, whoever is being trained also gets to have a little bit of fun, to quote Ben.
Yeah, it's all about having fun in the game, right? Wealthy Man being interrupted right now. It's been a little bit of a struggle for him with Smexen kind of sitting on him, but decent damage on Thugonomics. Here's the double leg sweep coming in from Cubsy, but he has to play catch up on Wealthy Man. I mean, there's been great pressure in this game so far. The double fear coming in from Smexen, that intimidating shout, but Thugonomics still just getting pressured down basically solo by Chanimal. Thugonomics, this is such a rough spot to be in. I mean, as a solo caster, when you're playing against Mage Lock, you're just eating every single interrupt. You're eating polymorphs and fears and reflects, and it can be really difficult to get, basically your job done in the match. But I mean, Thugonomics, if there's any Warlock that's going to be up to the task, this guy's been playing Destro for, a decade, it feels like, at, a really, really high level. So using all that experience to try to find opportunities is going to be important, but still, it feels like Cloud9 has most of the pressure in this match.
Live Cocoon on Chanimal. He's not going to be taking any damage. He's going to continue to just stand right on top of Space Station Gaming. And Ring of Peace knocks Smexen and Thugonomics back out into open field. Smexen has to Stormbolt Wealthy Man and disrupt these greater Pyroblasts. If he gets a string of these together, I mean, it could be lights out for Space Station Gaming. Cubsy's mana is comfortable. They're in a solid position overall. They're consistently building pressure onto Space Station Gaming. They're going to sweep up Smexen out in midfield, but Cubsy actually gets swapped to by Thugonomics. Thugonomics is boldly just targeting whoever he wants and just lobbing Chaos Bolts out, trying to maximize his damage maybe. But Mistweavers don't really care about maximum damage. I feel like you're not even going to hit the threshold where the Mistweaver isn't going to be able to out-heal the amount of damage that's being dealt. You're only going to win this game with crowd control pretty much exclusively, or maybe running the Monk out of mana, but that's even unlikely. Thugonomics is in a lot of trouble. Mortal Coiled out into midfield. Trinket, Spirit Link, Panic for Space Station Gaming. And I'm not sure that this Warrior Warlock's going to work out.
That was a massive defensive overlap there. Gorecki, Trinket, Spirit Link, Thug used his Unending Resolve. Two biggest defensives are out for Space Station Gaming. And honestly, if they get a full fear onto Gorecki, they could set up onto him. If they get a Seduce or a Poly, anything, they can one-shot him like they did on Hook Point. Wealthy Man has his combustion as well, so he would not need to cast in a situation like that. But they could also just crowd control Gorecki and go for Thugonomics. And that whoever they go for is going to be decided by positioning. Right now, Thugonomics positioning a little too aggressive here. Nice Hex there onto Wealthy Man. You can see Cubsy's moving forward. It looks like they want to go after Gorecki here. I think Cubsy's going to try to roll in and paralyze Gorecki as soon as Chanimal can. And there it is. Full paralyzed. Here comes the damage. Chanimal is on top of him. There's the where's the leg sweep? No leg sweep. Ooh, big blunder there for C9. No leg sweep going to come out of Cubsy. Gorecki's going to activate his Astral Shift. Going to survive. And now Chanimal's on the back foot here. Big damage. Chaos Bolt comes out with the Dark Soul. Thug getting sheeped. Life Cocoon activated. And C9 with a rare mistake right there. Could have maybe even closed out the game. Now they go though. There it is. Leg sweep. Combustion. Double Mortal Coil. Do they have the follow-up? There it is. Another Infernal Stun maybe from Chanimal. Not going to be able to find it. Chaos Bolt comes through. And there is the Shadow Fury. Chaos Bolt to close it out.
Wow.
Truly is poetic justice that Space Station Gaming is taken down at the exact second the rocket takes off. It was actually the exact